But I can see you're having a good time here in Sitges.
I always have a good time.
Nice.
If I wake up breathing, I'm going to have a good day. That's how wonderful my life is.
It's a good philosophy.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very simple, simplistic, but I feel that I'm so grateful for what we have, our cultural, being able to travel here, to be able to meet filmmakers from all over the world, basically depicting their cultures, fiction, nonfiction, fantasy, sci-fi, and it's great because you're a part of my community. Huh.
I like your way of thinking.
I'm a philosopher. I have a doctorate of humanities from Maryland University. So I'm Dottore Grier.
Was taking that in account, I was wondering what difference you can see in these days with all the media, all the social media, all the spread communication around, and in the 70s, where the things supposed to be more easy, more simple, but I think that are very much tricky. What you can tell about that times and these times?
I love this time because now we can share our cultures. Our communication is faster as opposed to from the fax years ago in the 70s where it was on a roll of paper. The telephones were like gigantic, cell phones were huge, and it took us longer to communicate. It took us longer to confirm facts. Today, it's instant, it's quicker, it's better. Even though we take smaller steps, we still move forward. But I like the diversity. There's a group that Al Gore and myself, a lot of people support the solar panels on huts in Africa so they can be connected to the internet and they can educate themselves and be with the rest of us. And there's solar panels right on their huts. I think that's fantastic because now within the same timeline, they can watch this interview. They can, watch Jackie Brown. They can watch streaming services that play all African-American films called Brown Sugar for Bounce TV. They can see all of my movies, all of Richard Roundtree Schaff movies. They can see all Fred Williamson, James Earl Jones, Cicely Tyson, Richard Pryor, Billy D. Williams, all the films done in the 70s. Over 250 movies they can see on streaming services right now in a hut, say in Gabon or Ghana or Kenya, because of the internet. So I like the fact that you can have that communication. Otherwise, you'd have to hire a PR firm. Take a day to write it, edit it. Is it okay? We'll put it on the newspapers. They don't want it. It takes forever. You lose money. This way, you're responsible for your facts. This way, you're responsible for your truth. And if you lose your truth, people won't trust you. So it's good that you can talk about what you want to do, what you want to say, what you want to promote, what culture, what invention, what new camera. Look we're filming on a camera, not a huge motion picture camera or video cam, but on a camera. I think it's wonderful. And look what I'm holding is a speaker that I can actually have on my shoulder, like a parrot or a bird. But the technology is incredible. It's back in the 70s, I wish we had that technology. As you can see in some of the filming, which Quentin Tarantino liked, he wanted Jackie Brown and a lot of his films to look like 70s filmmaking. We didn't have the luxury of cutting post-production money. So we had to be very, very good, and scenes were very long. And it didn't look so, beautiful, aesthetically appealing. But we did it with what we had, and we got our pop culture recorded. If we didn't do it, we would miss out on a lot of the inspiration that a lot of filmmakers like Like Quentin, he loved the movies of the 70s. And for me, can you imagine, are you familiar with Kurosawa? Can you imagine the Seven Samurai today?
In digital?
Oh my gosh. The colors, the shadows, the shade, day for night, CGI oceans, there's so much more. I love the Kurosawa films. And can you imagine Bertolucci and Fellini now? What they would be doing? It'd be off the chain. It would be fantastic. So they inspired us to be here today with our technology and our CGI and our sci-fi. And now you can film and edit your work on the set and watch it from the video tower and make sure, no, go back, they missed that line and there was this, we want to be able to put it in the can, this section of work today, ready to edit and make our film. So because of it, we are saving money, we're able to make more mistakes, we're able to explore more and adventure more. So I really like filmmaking today. Back then, it was not caveman. It wasn't so old. However, we did what we could and inspired you young people to create for us today. And I've had a career for over 52 years, which is fantastic. That's half a century. And I've seen so much every decade change. I've seen so many changes technologically, passionately, politically. And we need that because often the political aspects of filmmaking are delayed because no one gets the information and can make judgment and get it back to the sources. It takes too long. Now today, CNN, BBC, MSNBC, the Me Too, all the things that are happening with women, it's now going faster. We're in the streets, we're protesting, we're demanding respect, we're demanding, things that it would take too long back in the day. And there'd be so many problems. Now we can address the problems quicker. That's what I like. We can edit out quicker mistakes, profanity, all kinds of things. So I really like today. I wish I was younger today. I wish I was my 18-year-old trying to get into UCLA Film School today. It's so exciting. But my time is my time. I'm still very, very energized by youth. I embrace youth. I got to do a movie with RZA, the man with the iron fist, in China. I played his mom. We were over there, going all over China, Shanghai. It was fabulous. I got to work with Snoop Dogg. He comes out to my house, and Dr. Dre. So I have this youth with me, and we talk about. They usually ask me about what was it like then, as you did. It was slower. It was new. It was adventurous. We didn't have the resources to make a lot of mistakes, so we had to be the best that we can be. But out of it came a style, a swagger, if you will. If you look at a lot of the films, even if you look at The Italian Job, if you look at Scorsese, his work, his newest property with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, The Irishman, they're spending $30 million making them look younger, 10, 20, 15 years younger. I want that budget. That's just the CGI. It's going to be a $100 million movie. But it's making their images younger. That's fantastic. That's sci-fi, but it's not, but it is. So it was inspired by someone in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s to where we are today.
As you said before, I guess it wasn't easy to be a woman and a black woman in the 70s.
And you weren't born yet, so no, you were born to, I want to go back, this is crazy.
Yeah, so how was that? How you remember the 70s and being a successful woman in the industry? Probably the first black woman to be very successful in the industry.
Well, where I was from, which just through, maybe it was Providence, that I brought to film my lifestyle, which was military, urban, city, and rural farming. And I had those three realities that I brought to film. My great-grandmother, on my grandfather's side, was from the Black West, the Underground Railroad. They were escaped slaves that homesteaded in Wyoming on land. She owned a hotel for the blacks, Chinese that worked on the railroad, a la Blazing Saddles. Did you see Blazing Saddles? One of it was Richard Pryor and Cleavon Little, written by Mel Brooks. No, you got to see it. Okay, let's stop. You go see it, and we'll continue. It is a parody of the Western. So it's Cleavon Little, a black cowboy playing John Wayne. Okay, which makes it funny, the parody. And he rides on a horse wearing Gucci. Gucci, yeah, look at him, he's going, Gucci? You know, now you really got to see it. You really got to see it now. So I gave Richard Pryor the information to add authenticity to the screenplay. Because they were saying, were there blacks and Chinese in the West? I said, yeah, they didn't all work in San Francisco in laundries. They worked on the railroad to make money to send home to their families. And they needed labor on the railroads that were developing, bringing the towns, connecting the towns. So you needed railroads, you need labor. So I had these great stories that I shared with Richard that he put in the movie to bring authenticity. And everyone said, wow, how interesting. And I lived it. I heard the stories, I saw the pictures. And the fact that my relatives on my father's side were from the Underground Railroad, which is the African-American Black West, that people were getting slaves out of the South and sending them to freedom, hiding them in their homes, in their underground, in their farms, and risking their lives to get these people of color away from slavery and the death of it. That was my family. And my grandfather had a mother, my great-grandmother, who had a hotel, and she was a sugar beet farmer. And he saw her independence. She wasn't married. She was quite independent. Look at his eyebrow. She wasn't married, but he saw an independent woman from the late 1800s have a business, run a farm, raise him. And so when he had a family, he taught all of us girls to be self-sufficient. He taught us how to hunt, fish, shoot, ride the tractor. We were 9 years old. Bring the boat in, go out in the fishing boat, change tires, be self-sufficient. And he's always said, if a woman can do something, a man will respect you. And that was my calling. And I brought that to film. And everyone said, wow, that's new. But it was, because we weren't in the history books. The narrative of the African-American woman, or even Caucasian new women, new frontier white women, we weren't in the history books. There's a story called Mary Fields. She was the first black stagecoach driver for the mail route in Montana. And Gary Cooper, one of the premier white actors, wrote about her because he saw her when he was a little boy. I tried to get that story made as a Western, a women's Western, with me as Mary Fields, or Whoopi Goldberg, she doesn't like horses though, and Calamity Jane, she was a white frontiers woman, sharpshooter, to protect herself, Annie Oakley, who was in the circuses, the Western circuses, and these were all these women who were self-sufficient, that we weren't written in history books because we weren't important, but now we are. Now there's new narratives that are exciting. Men aren't threatened by women who are not strong, but we can be equal. We're good partners now. Before, we weren't allowed to be partners. We were oppressed. We couldn't drive cars. We couldn't vote. women's suffrage. We had to get out there and fight to vote or to drive a car to take our children to the hospital. That's changed. And it's not as frightening and threatening as it used to be. And when I brought that to the movies, everyone thought that was so new, like I invented it. I didn't invent it. We weren't important. And when just by sheer luck, Roger Corman allowed me to be myself in films. And he would ask me, well, how did you do that? When did you learn how to shoot a gun? How did you learn how to drive a boat? When we were little, and the city people, you don't need a tractor. You're not on boats. You don't have to hunt food. You go to the supermarket. We would hunt for our fresh fish, and we would have fresh food with no toxins, no poisons, no chemicals. It was pure. We didn't have cancer. We all lived over 100, 507. It was pure. And that's what I brought to the work. And it helped me evolve because the studios wouldn't allow back then an Angelina Jolie or Charlize Theron or Charlotte Johansson to be in action movies because they say, no, that's too masculine. You stay feminine. Don't do that. And today they're saying, no, this is what we have to do to inspire. And if we show our strength, men are less threatened. They're not as threatened. Exploitation, I know he's looking at it as well. Exploitation, they used to say when women join armies and use guns, they were exploiting women. They forced women to be in armies. That's not true. There's women who want to be, that are military or maybe taking care of a child. That's what they want to do. And it's not exploitative. Now it's normal.